Today on Calm the Pharm podcast, we're talking about the Pharmacy Industry Award. Now, this is, of course, the award which underpins the employment of many of the people that work within the pharmacy industry. And those people are really a key component of community pharmacy. And whether you're a pharmacy business owner or charged with managing the team in your pharmacy, you must understand both the award and employment obligations. So we can talk about employment obligations at another time, but today I want to touch on 6 key aspects of the Pharmacy Industry Award. 1, who's not covered by the award. 2, the minimum wage requirements. 3, individual flexibility arrangements. 4, annual leave loading. 5, rostering, and 6, superannuation. So let's get right into it. Firstly, who is not covered by the award? So pharmacies that are owned or operated by hospitals, public institutions, or by the government, or which are not engaged in the retail sale of goods and services to the public, such as perhaps a hospital pharmacy, fall outside the control of the award. Additionally, employees that are excluded from the award coverage and employees covered by a modern enterprise award or other agreement are also not covered by the award. So that's a bit of a mouthful, and essentially it means if there's a enterprise bargaining agreement in place, that person won't be covered. But otherwise, if you're talking about a traditional community pharmacy, chances are your employees are going to be covered. So that's who's in and who's out. Moving on to number 2, minimum wage requirements. The award sets out the minimum wage requirements for various roles within a pharmacy. It's not limited to pharmacy assistants nor pharmacists, so it's important that you look at the award to determine the roles which it covers and then the staff in your business which fit into those particular roles. The award also has provisions relating to overtime rates, penalty rates, and allowances. There's additional requirements for employees who conduct home medicine reviews, HMR, as well as employees who work in a particular county located in New South Wales. Recently, 2 major employers were penalised for breaching the minimum payment obligations set out in the award. This highlights the potential for significant financial penalties to be imposed on employers, but also the need for employers to be in tune with the award and, in particular, the increase in award rates, which tend to happen each year. As such, employers should ensure they diarise to review and adjust pay rates on an annual basis in order to comply with the terms of the award. It is not sufficient, in my view, to simply rely on your accounting system to process those updates. Too many employers have come unstuck over the years for doing that. It is time to be proactive and make sure you're diarising to check these rates on a regular basis. Number 3 is individual flexibility arrangements. So Section 5 of the Pharmacy Industry Award at the time of recording this podcast provides for an individual flexibility arrangement, commonly known as an IFA, which can be used in respect of particular aspects of the employment relationship in order to create alternative employment arrangements. So you have the Pharmacy Industry Award, but sometimes an employer and an employee agree to vary the terms of that award and do so via an IFA. Now, you can't just go changing the award provisions however you wish. There are limitations on what can be changed. An annualised wage arrangement is an example. So it operates to simplify the wage payment process by outlining how an eligible employee will be paid over a 12-month period, including payment of allowances and overtime. The annual wage arrangement is not suitable for all employees, and it actually only applies to full-time pharmacists or level 4 pharmacy assistants. So if you have a pharmacist, for example, that you want to put on a salary as opposed to paying under the award, you can do that via an IFA. However, you need to ensure that the salary is such that the employee is better off overall than they otherwise would have been under the award. So you need to factor in what is the award rate plus allowances, overtime, etc., and what would that equate to in determining their salary. While an IFA is a beneficial arrangement in that it allows flexibility and negotiations with individuals depending on their particular circumstances, employers and employees are really cautioned not to take a one-size-fits-all approach to the arrangements. It's important that it is suitable to both parties. It's also important that the employee is not forced into the arrangement or left at a disadvantage. So certainly an option to consider, but it's not just a matter of the employer deciding it will be in place or simply throwing the award out the window. There are limitations to IFAs, and it's something that you should definitely obtain advice on. Number 4 is annual leave loading. So annual leave loading doesn't apply to everyone, but it does apply under the Pharmacy Industry Award. And it is a payment that is made to employees when they take annual leave. It is in addition to their annual leave entitlements. It's typically set at 17.5% of the minimum wage rate, but that of course can vary over time, so you should check that at the time of paying loading. It is paid at the same time as the annual leave entitlements are paid, so when the staff member is on leave, and it also is paid when the employment relationship is terminated or otherwise ends, so you pay loading on the entitlement. Like I say, it's not applicable to every employee in our country, but it does apply to pharmacy, so it's important to be aware of it. Number 5 is rostering. So the award outlines the maximum ordinary hours that can be worked in either a week, fortnight, or a day. So again, important to check the award and be sure that you are across it before you start doing your rosters, because you may inadvertently be doing something that is in breach of the award. So make sure you're doing things in conjunction with that. So ordinary working hours of full and part-time employees must be rostered to have 2 consecutive days off each week and 3 consecutive days off over a fortnight. So 2 consecutive days off each week or 3 consecutive days off over a fortnight. The award also sets out the number of days per week that the ordinary hours can be worked. If you're employing students or casual employees, it's important to know that they have their own requirements and cannot be rostered to work on a shift which is less than 3 hours unless they're informed and voluntary consent is provided. So you can't have someone in for 2 hours of an evening, for example. Further, where school students are employed in a pharmacy business, there must be at least one employee at level 3 or higher rostered to work at the same time that the student is on in order to provide adequate supervision. So that is also something that may be inadvertently overlooked, and that is who are you rostering on at certain times. So bear in mind there are requirements when you have students on board. Finally, superannuation. So as I'm sure you're aware, there are serious penalties for employers who don't pay superannuation, and those penalties can include significant financial penalties. If you use independent contractors to staff your business, you need to check the terms of the agreement, that is the independent contractor agreement, to determine who is responsible for superannuation contributions. Sometimes what might look like a contractor arrangement is in fact an employment arrangement, and superannuation obligations will fall on the employer. If it is the intention for the employee to pay their own superannuation or make their own contributions, it is important that the relationship is a genuine contractor relationship. Managing employment obligations is complex, and oversights, whether inadvertent or intentional, can result in significant penalties, particularly for employers. Of course, it can also be quite damaging to the employment relationship between the employer and the employee. As such, it's always important to obtain legal advice to assist you in understanding and managing your obligations. That's all for today. If you have any questions regarding the Pharmacy Industry Award, or indeed anything you'd like to discuss on this podcast, please feel free to reach out. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you soon.